Well, hello and good evening and welcome to this COVID-19 Town Hall broadcast live right here on Cable 14, 900 CHML radio, and of course on the City of Hamilton YouTube channel. I'm Mike Fortune, host of the Hamilton Network right here on Cable 14, and I will be your moderator for the next hour as we bring you up to date on the latest information regarding COVID-19 here in the City of Hamilton. Tonight, the theme of our town hall is preparing for a safe and healthy holiday season. And joining me once again are Hamilton Mayor Fred Eisenberger, Paul Johnson, Director of the City of Hamilton's Emergency Operations Center, and of course, Dr. Elizabeth Richardson, Medical Officer of Health for the City of Hamilton. Also joining us tonight is Keenan Loomis, President and CEO of the Hamilton Chamber of Commerce. And of course, we are all adhering to public health recommendations. We are gathered virtually, and our production crew is working safely within the recommendations laid out by public health. As always, with our town halls, this program is interactive, and we welcome all of your questions and comments. And to participate, you can email your question to communications@hamilton.ca, tag @City of Hamilton on Twitter, or call us at 905-645-3232, and one of our operators will relay your question to me. Now, with that said, Mr. Mayor, let's begin tonight's town hall with your update on the current situation here in the City of Hamilton.
Thank you very much, Michael, and thank you everyone for tuning in and being part of this opportunity for us to share this information, whether you're on Cable 14 or 900 CHML or on the City of Hamilton's YouTube channel. We're glad you dialed in. We appreciate the opportunity to share some direct information about COVID-19 and our city's ongoing reopening plan. And tonight I'm pleased to once again have Paul Johnson and Dr. Elizabeth, but also Keenan Loomis from the Chamber of Commerce to speak to some of the business-related issues that are happening in our community and to talk about some safe shopping opportunities in the City of Hamilton as well. And in terms of a response to the pandemic, I will take this opportunity to remind everyone that while retail stores in Hamilton remain open under the enhanced red category of the province's COVID-19 response framework, I encourage everyone to avoid the large crowds and stay home if possible. So please continue to support our local businesses safely this holiday season. You can shop online, you can utilize the curbside pickup or delivery options. Now more than ever, we need to show some local love by shopping local as much as we can and continue to put our trust in the health experts by following the recommendations. As Dr. Richardson always reminds us, everyone in our community must continue to follow the advice from our public health team. That advice is restrict close contact to your household members only. And essential support. So if you live alone, you can join another household to make sure you remain socialized. But household only means only the people that live in your home. Don't bring in grandparents and grandkids and other visitors and guests into your home, and don't go visit them. That is really the way that we're going to avoid the kind of social contact that is the majority part of the spread that we're seeing in our community. All in-person activities should be limited to essential activities only. Essential activities include work, school, fitness, exercise, access to health care, and the purchase of food or drink, gasoline for your automobile, and the maintenance that you require for that vehicle, and to restrict those social gatherings to, again, household members only. And lastly, wear a mask or a face covering when around others from another household, or if you're out in public places or outdoors when unable to stay physically distant, and wash your hands as often as possible. And again, as I've toured around the city to look at how the retail operations are managing, they're putting in place some of the enhanced requirements that our medical officer of health has put in place. And I'm very grateful for that. They're at the door, they're counting the amount of people going in and asking the appropriate questions. And that is exactly what we want them to do. And hopefully that'll have the appropriate impact before too long. So let's continue this hard work. I know it's difficult. We're all a little tired. Christmas is coming up, and we want to, do as much as we can to avoid the transmission and the spread of this virus. And so let's not lose the gains that we've been able to achieve by minimizing the amount of harm in our community. And, if we had let this thing just go, many more deaths and many more people and overrunning hospitals would have occurred, and that certainly wasn't an option for us. So we have done an exceptionally good job of containing this, and we need to continue to do more, even as the promise of the vaccine is on the horizon. So Mike, thank you for this opportunity to give a brief overview, and I know that we're going to hear some good information from Dr. Elizabeth and Paul Johnson and Keenan Loomis as well. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that, Mr. Mayor. We will come back to you with some of the questions from our viewers and listeners in just a few minutes. But first, let's bring in Paul Johnson from the city's Emergency Operations Center. And Paul, the city is nearing the end of the 28-day period since we were first moved into the red zone by the province. So, Paul, let me get right to the point that is on everyone's mind right now. Where does Hamilton go from here?
Well, thanks for the question, Mike. And the answer is we'll find out when the province makes their decision and cabinet makes some announcements, and those generally happen on Fridays. And I know Dr. Richardson will comment a bit on this in terms of where our numbers are at too as we go through this evening. But let's reflect a little bit. It has been that sort of 4-week period. These things get announced generally on Fridays and are implemented on the following Monday. And in most cases, as I shared with council and Dr. Richardson shared with the Board of Health, in almost all instances where we were 4 weeks ago when we headed into the red control category, all of those key markers are worse today. And so we do have that higher number of cases. We do have, a positivity rate that is in the worry zone. And we're seeing the stress and strain on our community in outbreaks, in hospital, feeling again some of those pressures of rising numbers for COVID, but also trying to keep up with all the other things that hospitals do. So our community is in that tough moment. We had hoped 4 weeks after going into red, it would be pretty easy to say, oh, we're headed into orange or yellow, and we're not there. So what will happen tomorrow? Again, I call and text Dr. Richardson as much as everybody else does. The mayor, myself, Dr. Richardson, we don't have any information that we sit on for a couple of days just waiting for another announcement. We don't know. There is a conversation always that happens with local medical officers of health, because that's where you gain the data and the understanding and the information of what's happening locally. But as I said this week, as people were getting used to the new enforcement of Dr. Richardson's restrictions that were put in place over the weekend and into this week, and there have been some concerns about, it's tough. These things are added burdens and added pressures on retail or places. Think about the alternative. The alternative is a lot of the things that are open today will not be. And that's what we're trying to do. Throw everything that is possible in terms of messaging, in terms of restrictions, in terms of enforcement, that will help us keep our case count and keep the spread of this virus in an acceptable zone where we can continue to do a lot of the things that we want to do. And so I know it's always this, will we, it becomes a bit of a game, but this isn't a game, because the impacts of the restrictions that are placed in red and certainly in gray have a very strong impact on individuals and businesses and organizations in our community. So I hope that the message tonight continues to be, particularly as we head into the holiday season, we have to make sure we do our part. And I know that tonight we'll probably share that there is light at the end of this long tunnel, but vaccination is not coming for the broad population tomorrow. It's going to take months, and it's going to take us deep into 2021. So the vigilance we'll have to have as a community will go on. So a long answer to a short question. We don't know, but the reality is it's sort of disappointing 4 weeks later to be on such a knife edge in terms of whether we're in that red category and that gray category, because we just haven't seen the improvement that we all hoped would happen.
No doubt, Paul, and thank you very much for that. We do appreciate it. Now, before we turn the floor over to Dr. Richardson, a reminder to our audience that this is an interactive program, and in just a few minutes, our panel will be answering questions that you have posed. And to participate in tonight's program, you can email your question to communications@hamilton.ca. You can tag at City of Hamilton on Twitter, or please call us at 905-645-3232, and one of our operators will relay your question directly to me. Now, with that said, Doctor, our case counts have continued to climb, as mentioned, and we've recorded a record of over 100 new cases on a single day since our last town hall. This must be incredibly frustrating and difficult to manage. At this time, can you please give us an update on the challenges that you're facing right now?
Absolutely, Mike. I'm just going to check if you can hear me.
We got you loud and clear.
Good. There, it just sounds a little funny on my end. All right. Yeah, I'm going to give you an update on the case counts. You've heard from the mayor, you've heard from Paul about, we continue to be in a difficult position, and our total case count today is at 3,905 cases total. That includes first and second wave, and that's an 81 case increase from yesterday. So our weekly incidence per 100,000, as we call it, that number is sitting at 87. And unfortunately, it continues to creep up. It was 40 that we needed to be at in order to get to red, and now we've more than doubled that incidence. So it is quite concerning, and we're not sure yet what's going to be the decision of cabinet tomorrow. There's other factors they look at too, and as Paul's alluded to in terms of our hospitals, they are feeling a fair degree of pressure at this point. We've had more hospitalizations. Unfortunately, we've also had more deaths. We have 5 more deaths that did occur today, and both our long-term care facilities and workplaces continue to have additional outbreaks, which is another factor that's looked at. So we have new outbreaks in Alexander Place and Shalom Village, and as well in 3 businesses, all tool manufacturing, Meadowlands retirement residence as well, and in Sterling Honda. So it's 26 total local active outbreaks and a total of 620 active cases. So quite concerning. And of course, there's always more details if people want to find them on our website at www.hamilton.ca/coronavirus. If I can though, Mike, I'd like to just take a minute because, one of the things we've talked about all along is the importance of case and contact tracing to this effort. And I want to just share a message similar to what I shared during Monday's media briefing, because it's a very important message for our community and for the viewers that are here with us tonight. And that's around giving information when we do the case management and contact tracing calls with people, because we have unfortunately been seeing people not being open, not being truthful when they're being interviewed. And I totally understand that, at this point, it might be a little stigmatizing, for some people, or they may feel embarrassed, because we have talked about how, people haven't been following the public health measures, the masking and that sort of piece. When we're working this through with people, absolutely, that's why you hear us talk about it all the time. We really need people to be following that, but we also really need to understand the circumstances that led to every case and what might have happened with the contacts, because that's how we understand what's happening with transmission of the virus. It's not information we're going to broadcast. It's not information we're going to share that way. Of course, that is the only way you get the virus. So ultimately, it's got to be some sort of slip like that. But we do need to know that information so we can see if there's an outbreak that might be going on in that long-term care facility or in a business, so that we can reduce that transmission, get it back under control, and slow down the spread of COVID-19. So it's absolutely vital that we get accurate and truthful information as we go forward. We know too that, when you do provide us that information, when you go for the testing, that the isolation for somebody who's a case and somebody whose contacts end up in quarantine, it can feel very inconvenient. And of course, it could even feel punitive, I'm sure, for some. But it is what we need to do to reduce transmission, to keep our healthcare system functioning properly. It is what we need to do to keep business open as much as possible, and to get that transmission down. As Paul has mentioned, and I'm sure we'll talk more about in a little bit, the vaccine is on the horizon, absolutely. But this is a program that's going to take a year plus to roll out. And so it's not something that's going to change the game tomorrow in terms of what we have to do. And the other thing is, until we understand, while we're very clear that this is a safe vaccine, that it's going to make a difference, but we're going to have to continue these public health measures until we fully understand the impact the vaccine is going to have. And so there's no letting up at this point.
Dr. Richardson, as always, thank you so much for that in-depth answer. And again, folks, I hope you get the message that Dr. Richardson is passing along. And of course, to all of our panel here tonight, thank you. Again, we remind you that this program is interactive, and you can participate by emailing your questions to communications@hamilton.ca, tagging @City of Hamilton on Twitter, or by calling us at 905-645 3232, and one of our operators will relay your question to me. With that said, we're going to be kicking off tonight's questions, and our first question will be going to the President and CEO of the Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Keenan Loomis. Keenan, great to have you on the program tonight. The question that has come in, sir, I know how important it is to shop local this holiday season, but I'm a little worried about visiting more crowded areas like downtown where a lot of the shops are. Can you make some recommendations for how I can shop locally and safely?
Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate the question, and I appreciate coming on with the weekly town hall crew. It's a great opportunity to get the message out that shopping is safe. It probably is safer than it's ever been, actually, because so many of the businesses have been great in following all the measures that have been laid out by public health. As well, obviously, businesses have had a long time to adapt now over the course of 2020 and to be much more digital in how they sell to the consumers out there. So as the mayor said at the very beginning, most every business that you want to be able to patronize out there has a web presence now, social media presence as well. And you should be able to find everything you need there. Yes, it will take a little bit more time than going to one behemoth website, but I think it's really important to remind everybody out there that a dollar spent locally goes a lot further than a dollar spent somewhere else. So you might have to visit individual websites, but think about all of the businesses out there that you used to frequent before COVID, and understand, and this has been the case for me as well, how COVID and the pandemic has changed your spending habits. And yeah, it has been easy at times to go to, certain websites and be able to get your needs taken care of. But, we do have to recognize the fact that obviously this is a health crisis, but it's also an economic crisis as well. And these are people and businesses here locally that, that are our neighbors and that really need us at this point in time. And so I would say, think about that, where you were spending your money beforehand, and make sure you do that, and have a spending plan right now as well. And obviously, it's been such a tough year, and so many of the businesses, in normal years are counting on December to really, make up a huge amount of their yearly revenues. And obviously this year, it's even more important. So I would say, because of the strict guidelines and because businesses here in Hamilton know that we need to get control of this virus if we're gonna, that's the best long-term plan for the economy, is to get control of these virus. Everybody has been following the strict protocols. So, I don't think you're going to find crowds when you go into businesses. Space out as well. So think about, Tuesday afternoon instead of Saturday afternoon to visit your favorite local business. Call ahead, visit their website. We forget about actually picking up the phone and calling businesses, but I think what you will find in every instance is that you will get really terrific customer service right now, because the businesses are really relying upon your spending right now here in December.
And Keenan, I saw it somewhere on Twitter or social media. You alluded to the fact that these businesses, these are our local, these are our neighbors, these are our friends. And how many times have we gone to them saying, hey, would you mind sponsoring this sports team or that sports team, whatever the case might be? Now is your time to really go back and help support them. Would you agree with that?
It really is. I mean, the numbers that we are seeing right now, and so we don't have a whole lot of local numbers at this point in time. There's always a lag when it comes to this sort of thing, but certainly on a provincial and a national basis, the numbers are really, really bad in terms of the loss of business that local businesses are feeling, the extent of layoffs as a result they have to put in place as well. And so, it's really bad. But I think one of the things that's, again, you think about the small businesses here in town, they are the ones that separate us, that distinguish Hamilton from any other community in Ontario or across the country, right? Because there's only one or two of them, and they are the places that really form the cultural fabric of our community. And they're struggling right now, so they need our help for sure. And what we need to do is find every way possible to get them through to the other side. Because think about what's going to happen once the pandemic is over. And what we don't want is a whole slew of vacant storefronts within our community. And think about how difficult and how long it's going to take to undo all of the ravages of this pandemic. So everything you can do right now, it's really important to making sure that we have that dynamism that these small local businesses bring to this community when we're ready to get out and start to live, a quote unquote normal life again.
Well said, Keenan. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. We're going to head back over to you now. A question has come in regards to yesterday. There was a presentation to the General Issues Committee about your economic task force and some really interesting projects that are set to come out of that. Can you talk to us a little bit more about the outcome, please?
You bet, Mike. Thank you for that. Good question, and certainly I was delighted to be able to put the task force in place a number of months ago. The whole idea being to bring all the various economic sectors and individuals that are participating in those sectors together, the BIAs, the entertainment sectors, the tourism areas, the building and construction trades, bring them all to the table and let's hear from them some of the recommendations that are going to be helpful for them to get through this pandemic and to continue to support their economic opportunity in futures. And so I'm delighted to say that the report happened yesterday, and I'd asked our staff to fish out of there some quick wins that we could implement immediately. And I'm happy to say that some 6 motions were passed unanimously by council to get moving and get ratified by Wednesday, that hopefully will continue to help into the future. One of them is that the general business license fees for trade licenses, for taxis, personal transportation providers, and film permits will be frozen at the 2020 levels for 2021, so no additional costs to be borne there for those areas. We're investigating the creation of a small business tax subclass that's specifically for the creative industry. That allows us to give them a tax break going forward, and certainly the creative industry is getting hit as hard, if not harder, than most in terms of the pandemic right now. The business improvement areas, all 13 of them, will get $10,000 each to help, a one-time enhancements, a grant to help them promote their business and do even more during this pandemic period and over the next year, as well as a $25,000 grant to Winterfest for all of the BIAs, to enhance the opportunity for having more winter activities that can actually draw people to their businesses and to their BIAs on an ongoing basis for the coming year as well during this winter period. And then establishing a COVID concierge service through the Hamilton Business Center, which is actually housed right on the ground floor of City Hall, in partnership with the 3 chambers of commerce, really to try and speed up the process of applying for a business and putting that in place. And so, really improving upon the speed and the efficiency of helping them get established and getting their business up and running and keeping them up and running. And lastly, a whole series of requests of our provincial and building code to permit municipalities to utilize building permit reserve funds to offset the cost of waiving building permit fees for affordable housing projects. And that the housing issues are top of mind. We've certainly been working on them very aggressively in terms of promoting additional projects, and many of them are in the queue and many of them are happening, whether it's shelters or affordable or homelessness opportunities. But being able to waive some of the building permit fees is going to be very, very helpful for those that are looking to do additional affordable housing projects in our community. And certainly every little bit helps in terms of promoting that to happen. And then there were a slew of recommendations to ask our federal and provincial governments to be aware of and to act on. I can't go through them all because there were some 14 different initiatives. But we're trying to work on every possible opportunity to continue to support our local businesses, our local employment sectors in our communities, so that they can continue to operate and hopefully be in a position to build back better when this pandemic is behind us.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for that, and continued success with that Economic Task Force recovery. Next question is going to be going to Paul. Mr. Johnson, are we expecting further service reductions on municipal services? Are there more closures coming to recreation or other city programs?
Well, we sure hope not. That will be decided for us in terms of the categories that we're in. We're pretty restricted now in terms of recreation amenities. Government services remain open, and we've continued to make sure that all the good measures are in place and are doing all of the things we need to if people are coming for municipal business. But recreation will be determined by our category, and as I say, many things are restricted in our red control category, but many things get shut down if we move into gray. So we're hopeful we'll stay here. And, we are looking at lots more activity outdoors, which hopefully we'll get to talk a bit about tonight at some point is, we do know the lower risk activities are outside. And even in the winter, even in Canada, there's lots of good reasons to get outside and lots of great things to do. One thing I would say to folks as we are in, picking up on what the mayor says at every press conference and said again this evening, and what Dr. Richardson reminds us of is, if you don't need to come out and visit our city hall or our municipal service centers in person, please don't. Most of our services are available online and by telephone. And if you can't find something online, phone us and we'll help you find it. I do know that sometimes people say, hey, it's a lot of stuff on the web, I couldn't find it. Well, why don't you phone us? We'll help you navigate through to it. There are very few things that can't be done online or by phone with the city. And what we're seeing is a number of people coming in for things that are easily done over the phone. Picking up their license, for instance, from a business perspective, they're mailed out weekly. So you'll get it through there, dropping off documents that could easily be emailed, and making payments that could be done on an online basis or over the phone. So those are the types of things, even people coming in looking for forms that, again, are on our website. So just a little encouragement right now. We want to keep these services open, but we don't want long lines of people. We don't want lots of people coming in if they don't need to. And the city of Hamilton has done a terrific job pre-pandemic in moving to more digital services. And I'll tell you what, Mike, this has accelerated some of that activity. And, there are these things that won't change after the pandemic is over. And one of those things, I think, is this great new way we've found to help people digitally, not have them come to physical locations. Those are things that can stay after the pandemic's over as well, because it's just a more effective and efficient way of delivering service. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's cheaper. And that's good for the taxpayers of the community. So help us out a little bit, particularly in these next few weeks while we're heading through this very difficult period and trying to get these case counts under control. And just know that the city's available by phone, by email, and certainly lots of online services, and that will help us out.
By all means, thank you very much for that, Paul. Great reminder to everyone out there watching and listening to us. Next question has come in, and it's going to be directed to Dr. Richardson. Doctor, what are the safest ways to celebrate the holidays this year? If we aren't allowed to host the regular large family gatherings, what can we do?
Thanks, Mike. And yes, the holidays. Here we are again at yet another holiday, and that perhaps one of the biggest for many people, as they would normally look forward to both some sort of holiday celebration and a New Year celebration as well. And so, it is so very important that we sit back and consider this time and are very thoughtful about how we go through it, because there's two things we need to do. One is that we need to keep our family, our friends, and our community, quite frankly, safe all through this season. And, it's great hearing Keenan and Paul and everybody talking about all the online things we can do to still celebrate, because that's the second thing we need to do, is we need to find ways to be well, to be resilient, to look at this season and think about what we can do to spend some time with those in our household. What are the gifts that come with having this time that we have right now with those in our household, as well as look at other ways that we can connect with those other people that are very important to us, our friends, our extended family. So during this time, we're absolutely asking that private gatherings be limited just to the people that live in your household. So if you're getting together, it is just those who live in your household. If you have somebody that you're close to who lives on their own, they could come and join your family if that's the family they are choosing to join with. And people who live on their own, they may have the choice of being sort of wrangled over to see whose house they're going to come to or who it is that they're spending time with. But that's we're asking that you just choose one person that you're doing that with on an ongoing basis, that it's someone that you trust. And even still, you should be considering wearing masks in those circumstances because you are coming from different places. Absolutely make sure you don't get together if you're not feeling well. Forego it this year. This is the year not to go out or not to join in, I should say, with the celebrations, either to come if you're that single person or even within your own household. If for some reason somebody is feeling unwell, let them have their dinner in their room and stick to themselves rather than having them come out and join everybody. And then there's lots of things that we've seen people doing that are quite creative in terms of joining in with others, whether it's playing some games online with people, having a movie night together where everybody watches the same movie and maybe shares the time together online. Having contests where they're sharing their gingerbread house decorations, any of those sorts of things, but also things like dropping off dinner on the porch for somebody who's unable to join you, or getting outside and going for a walk. It is okay to maintain that distance, go outside and have a walk. And if that's what would be really great for you guys to do in your family, then that would be the thing to do. Outside is probably the safest place to be just now. Remember to dress warmly, wear the right kind of clothes, and again, to keep physically distant.
Keep physically distanced, and we certainly hope Santa as well is going to be following some of these physically distanced rules and wearing a mask as well. And parents, talk to your kids about that as well. With that said, as we continue on, the next question has come into Keenan Loomis. Keenan, what is the Chamber doing to support local businesses to ensure they are aware of their responsibility as it relates to the health and safety of their patrons?
Oh, what aren't we doing at this point in time? A big part of what we do is information providing and advocacy as well for our members. And that's just gone into hyperdrive since COVID. It's a really difficult time. It's difficult for us as individuals to figure out how to navigate this whole situation, and obviously much more complex when your livelihood is on the line and your dream of owning a business is on the line as well. And there's so much information coming at us from all three levels of government. So what we did very, very quickly early on in the pandemic was we went completely digital and started a webinar series right away to feed that need for knowledge. We also worked really hard with the Hamilton Economic Development Department and in creating a COVID-19 microsite. And you can find that on our website at hamiltonchamber.ca. And if you go to the upper right-hand corner of the website, you will see a tab, COVID-19 resources, and you click on that. And basically everything you need to know is in that one microsite. And we've been updating it, every time we get new information. It was updated last Friday when the new enhanced measures were handed down by Dr. Richardson. I think we had them up on the website as she was speaking because we were working with the folks at Public Health in advance and connecting with them and collaborating with them. And so we had all this information ready to share as it was being shared with the community. So it's all out there. And as well, there's an ability to ask questions on the microsite as well. And there's a real live person that's there on the receiving end who is up to speed on everything. So obviously, all the government supports are there, and we're helping navigate people to determine what they qualify for. We're working very hard to make sure that all the businesses have a workplace safety plan in place, for example, because that's a requirement right now. And there are bylaw folks going around and doing inspections, as they should, to make sure that businesses are adhering to the rules. And so one of the things that they must have ready upon inspection is a workplace safety plan. And in doing that workplace safety plan, and there's a template on the Province of Ontario website. In doing that, it helps you, work out all the various scenarios and really allows you to create a plan in your own mind about how you're going to navigate these restrictions. And we're doing a lot to as well highlight small businesses and making sure again that people are being mindful of their spending. So we're doing a lot for our not just our members. It really doesn't matter right now who's a member and who's not a member. It's about serving the local businesses and making sure that our economy gets through this as well as possible. So again, all those businesses will be there on the other end.
Keenan, thank you very much for that. And I know personally the Chamber of Commerce has really stepped up to the plate here and been that voice for businesses and patrons. So kudos to you and your staff.
Thanks, Mike. This was supposed to be our 175th anniversary year, and it's been an awful year. Obviously, we had a lot of plans, but the thing is, it really showed the importance of a member association at this point in time, and so we've been really happy to serve. We can't help but do so.
Of course. Hey, at least we'll never forget the 175th anniversary. So there we go. Mr. Mayor, the next question has come in to you. What would you say to those families who are planning to disobey or ignore the provincial orders and hold large family gatherings to celebrate the holidays this year?
Thanks. Good question. And that's really the ultimate question that people have to answer for themselves right now is, what are they going to do? How are they going to serve our community and serve each other and their families by adhering some of these public health recommendations? Because that's the only way that we're going to avoid the spread of this disease. I want to remind people two things. First of all, the Prime Minister, and I agree with the Prime Minister, and I've said this often myself, this pandemic really sucks. I mean, it is just bad. I've never seen anything like it. You've never seen anything like it. Our businesses, our community, we've never seen anything like it, but we're in the middle of it, whether we like it or not. And this virus is going to be here until such time as we've got the entire population vaccinated. Then we're going to see some level of normalcy. But until then, we're in peril. And, for Hamilton, just to remind, 100 people have died. That's just Hamilton. If we broadcast that across the country, it's tens of thousands of people, and worldwide, it's tens of millions of people that have succumbed to this virus, whether they've either died or had significant health effects. So 100 people in Hamilton is not a small number. Our hearts go out to the families that have lost their loved ones as a result of this virus, and for them. And for everyone else in our community to be able to continue to celebrate future Christmases and future Easters, future summer holidays, all the things that we want to do and see all of our friends, grandparents and grandchildren, we need to be able to stay apart. And it's going to be terribly hard. I don't like saying this, to be honest. This is just the worst possible scenario for anyone in leadership to have to come to a community and say, please don't associate with one another right now. I want to see my family. I can't see my family right now. I've got two great grandchildren. I haven't seen them in months, and I'm not going to be seeing them this Christmas, as well as my kids. We've got an extended family of some 60 brothers-in-laws and sister-in-laws. I haven't seen them in the better part of 6 months. I'm pining for them all. Hopefully, when this is all behind us, we'll have a great celebration. But right now, we want to protect one another. And so we all understand and appreciate that if we do our part, we will be doing a service not only to the community at large, but to all of our family members to not give the virus to one another, especially our aging grandparents that are most at risk as a result of, many of the people that have succumbed to this have passed away. So I would just say, please, people, think twice. There's the right way to do this and the wrong way. And if we want to celebrate all those future events that we all love to do, we need to be healthy, and we all need to be here to be able to do that. So please avoid that. Now, having said that, I know enforcement's going to happen. And, I do not want to have our enforcement people knocking on people's doors that have, far too many people on it based on a complaint or proactively, that they're going to get fined and ticketed. But, you can check with Paul Johnson. The bylaw people are going to be out there. And if they find that to be true, then tickets are going to be levied. It's not what we want to do, but if it's absolutely necessary, that's what we will do.
Very well said, Mr. Mayor. And if I may also, if you are thinking about going out for these large gatherings, folks, think about the frontline workers, the doctors and the nurses who are putting in 12, 24, 36-hour shifts, how it just never stops for them. They are truly keeping things moving for us. But think of them if you do decide to see your family. Paul, next questions come in for you. With the cold weather here and COVID-19 restrictions making it difficult for people to access recreation programs, either at the local gym or at a city rec center, what kinds of things is the city doing to ensure residents can get out and stay active through the winter months of this pandemic? I know we slightly touched on that a little earlier.
Yeah, the good news is we've got lots around that, and it's been a moment, quite frankly, of a bit of excitement for our staff as they've put together a great list of things that people can do. But I just want to come back to enforcement for a moment, because I've got some breaking news in consultation with Dr. Richardson. Just want to ensure everyone there will be no enforcement. Santa can visit if Santa is visiting your home, or Elf on the Shelf. Apparently those are all okay, and Dr. Richardson has signed off on it. So we're all good on that front. And, I crack a bad joke to say we also have to have a little levity and fun. And one of the things I did talk about is that there are places where fun can be a little more free, and outdoors is one of those places. It is lower risk. Yes, you should take certain precautions for sure, but we're just a little less concerned when we get outside about all of these things and all of the challenges. So I never say outdoors is no risk, because that's not a smart thing to say, but it certainly lowers the risk. And so what we've done at the City of Hamilton is say we want to maximize opportunities for people to get outdoors. We are going to be starting up next week, making ice in our outdoor ice rinks, and we have a number of those around the community. We also have a great number of volunteers. We have 4 or so that the city do, but then we have 18 volunteer groups, and we hope there'll be a few more that'll come online that create their own outdoor rinks. And this is going to be a great way for people to get out. We're actually going to have a reservation system for Hamilton residents. They can actually reserve a time and get an hour on our outdoor rinks. There'll be 25 people maximum on those. They'll be staffed so we can keep track of it and make sure that it's done safely. And it's going to allow that opportunity to happen. So there's some planned activities that can go on in this community. The other piece is we have all sorts of parks and trails. We're going to create some new trails at Kings Forest Golf Course. Shoot Oak Golf Course is going to be open for winter golf before the snow gets deep. There is just some crazy golfers that love to golf even when it's freezing cold, but get out there. It's a great activity to do. Why not do it even when it's cold? When the snow comes, we're going to encourage people to be snowshoeing and cross-country skiing on our golf courses. Bylaw will not be enforcing things if you go onto our golf courses to walk and to do those types of activities. We've got tobogganing hills across this community that we set up as safe tobogganing hills. So those are those elements where you can get out and have some enjoyment. And as I say, you'll still have to follow a few rules here and there, but generally speaking, it's going to allow a lot more of the fun that we enjoy at this time of year. And yeah, it's a little chilly outside, and yeah, when the snow comes, it's we have to bundle up a little bit more. But this is going to be a great year for people to I think reconnect with all of these great outdoor amenities we have, which sometimes we forget about when it gets cold, because we go inside and we go to more movie theaters and maybe more indoor recreation and this type of stuff, which isn't available to us right now. So get outside and enjoy all those great park spaces. And one of the questions I do get asked occasionally is what about playground structures in the winter? They're open, and if they're open, they're there to be used as well. So all of those amenities in our community will be there through the winter, and then some of these planned things will happen that our staff have come up with. And I appreciate their efforts to have, a 2.7 kilometer trail developed at King's Forest that's sort of marked where people can walk is a great extra way to get out, get some exercise, and enjoy yourself in what is a lower risk environment from a COVID-19 perspective, but also doing those very important pieces of connecting and actually getting some exercise. So we're excited by what the winter is going to bring us from an activities perspective. And I know everybody likes being outside in the summer and sunning themselves and being at the beach and all the rest, but we're pretty convinced that we have a great winter city here at the City of Hamilton too.
Yes, we certainly do. Thank you very much for that, Paul. And a graphic did come up on our television screen, but for those listeners on 900 CHML that didn't get to see that, you can go to hamilton.ca/winter for all the activities that the city is going to be putting out there. Dr. Richardson, another question has come in directed towards you. What is the plan for the vaccine rollout here in Hamilton? When do we expect our frontline and most vulnerable populations to start receiving the vaccines?
Thanks, Mike. And the vaccine is definitely the topic of the day, I think, as we've started to hear more about the vaccine having been approved. And the Premier announced today the first vaccination sites in Ottawa and Toronto. So definitely good news that that's begun. And I do want to come back to that approval process because I think it's really important. People might be feeling a little worried about, how fast the vaccine's been developed, but Health Canada has taken it through its full regulatory review process that it would do for any vaccine. And so the difference is that they would normally work that out in stages over time in terms of gathering the information and then sharing it to the reviewers and gathering it back. And they got everybody to work together. So that process really just rolled along day in, day out. But it was still exactly the same process. So lots of transparency too, in terms of there's lots of information that they've posted so that everybody can see it and everybody can understand it, though I know with a lot of the science that's on there, you might need some help from some of our McMaster colleagues. But when it comes to the vaccine itself, it is going to take time to roll this vaccine out. And so the province has announced 3 phases that it's going to roll out over. The first phase is going to concentrate on long-term care homes, retirement homes, congregate settings, healthcare workers, and as well on our Indigenous communities and remote communities who are at higher risk of transmission. So that's going to be the first group, and then they're going to expand that group up slightly, and then looking at the full general population, not until late in 2021. And so I know we've been hearing from our doctors that work with us that they're having patients come in and asking if they can get the vaccine now. And for the general public, that is going to take some months. There are different vaccines that are being shipped to us, and they will be rolled out, but people are going to need to be patient as we go forward. So we do have a group under the Hamilton COVID response table, which brings together the hospitals, primary care, community-based care, ethicists. They're all at the table talking about these things and how can it be rolled out as we're getting more information from the province. And the province, as I said, this is a very dynamic process where people are sending along information as they're able to share it. And so the groups are looking at that. So those plans aren't finalized yet, but it will be prioritizing that first group, as I mentioned, and that you've heard the Premier mention already. And then we'll take many, many months to roll this out. This is a huge project that is going to take many, many, many months to roll out in general. And I do want to come back to that point I made earlier that I know everybody's very hopeful, and with the vaccine, Keenan, you talked about getting back to normal sometime soon, and but we need to remember that we must continue to follow those public health measures, the masking, the hand hygiene, the physical distancing, until this vaccine does get rolled out broadly, and until we get to see just how much of an impact this vaccine will have. There's no doubt it's safe. There's no doubt that it's going to have an impact, but we need to continue to find out how big that impact is, how soon, and look at which vaccines are producing the greatest impact. So it's going to take us some time. We're going to need to continue to be patient. It's a long game here.
It certainly is, and that we've come this far. We might as well just ride this whole thing out at this point. Thank you very much for that, Doctor. Keenan, the next question has come in directed to you. This pandemic has hit the restaurant business particularly hard. With the colder weather upon us now, what are you doing to support restaurants as they try to make it through the winter? And how can residents help to keep these businesses afloat?
Yeah, of everything that that I miss from this pandemic. It's walking into a busy restaurant, on a Friday night, and with all the conviviality, and there's just a huge amount of energy to be had in that type of setting. And so, obviously restaurants, even those that have been opened, it's just not the same at this point in time. And they're hit worse than probably any other industry right now. And so, just as we're providing information to all the other businesses across the city, they are certainly the beneficiary of that effort. And as well, we've been providing a lot of advocacy in terms of from our provincial and national networks to make sure that they have the types of supports and subsidies available to them that they need to be able to get through this. So, the very first wage subsidy was at 10%, and then it went up to 75%, and then it was only available for a certain amount of time. And we worked really hard to make sure that it was available through to the rest of this year and then into next year as well. So those supports are certainly going to be important for all businesses, but especially for the restaurant industry as well. And there's a whole bunch of other subsidies that were rolled out in the fall economic statement, and there's as well some provincial subsidies helping businesses buy PPE and all that. So all of that can be found again on our COVID-19 microsite. But I think what's really important is that we continue to support them, just as we need to support all the other small businesses in town. So restaurants, I think, have done a really good job for the most part in adapting and in being really adept at handling takeout orders. And so we should definitely make sure that, again, as I said in my previous answer, how many times were you going out or ordering in pre-pandemic? Well, obviously, if you're not doing as much now and you extrapolate that across the city, we're just not spending as much. So again, be mindful of how you're spending your dollars and make sure that you're still, ordering from your favorite restaurant. You might not be able to sit in the restaurant, with all these other diners, but they're certainly still offering takeout, curbside delivery, or pickup. There's a lot of delivery services as well. And the final thing I'll say is that gift cards are really important. That's cash in the hands of restaurateurs right now, and you can redeem those at a later time when you are able to walk into a crowded atmosphere and get that energy that we are all craving right now.
Agreed completely. Thank you very much for that. And of course, folks, if you want more information on how the Chamber can help you, make sure you go to hamiltonchamber.ca. We've got a few minutes left in the show. We want to sneak one more question into Paul before we get to the mayor to close things out. Paul, this year the holidays will be even more difficult for a lot of vulnerable people right here in our community who are in need. Since many of the office-based toy drives and food drives aren't happening this year, what are some of the ways employees can help or offer support this year?
So, Mike, this is really a year where people can come together and think of how can we donate cash and to these organizations. It is very tough, although some have ability for people to drop off things. The reality is that that puts a lot of stress on the charity. They have to follow all of those same public health guidelines and safety guidelines that everyone else has to. So dropping things off is tough sometimes. But here's what I'd say is find ways to do things a little bit differently. It's kind of similar actually to what Keenan just talked about. Those gift card donations and things like that. Those organizations can take that and turn that into Christmas donations for families. From a food bank perspective, to be honest, cash is always king. They have far more purchasing power than you or I will ever have as individuals. Food share estimates, for instance, that for every dollar donated, it's $10 that they can purchase with food. So those are the kinds of things we're going to need this year for people to think about. And I would then just get creative. the same way we're creative in how we do press conferences and town hall meetings and all the other things that we do in life. Get creative with teams, and don't forget about those who need who need that help, particularly this year, because a lot of those places that people may have been going for support are not open at this moment. So come together, find creative ways. Gift cards, donations of cash are really what I think will keep these charitable organizations moving through this season and ensuring that they can deliver the support to those who need it most. They're doing a great job throughout the pandemic, and I know at the holiday season they'll continue to do that if we as Hamilton are there to support them.
Paul, thank you very much. We do appreciate that. And we do have a few minutes left here, Mr. Mayor. So thank you for all your questions tonight. And Mr. Mayor, as I've said, we'd like you to have a few minutes now to close off the program with any final thoughts of this last COVID-19 town hall for 2020.
Thank you, Michael. And let me just finish with some votes of gratitude to you and Cable 14 and 900 CHML and our city staff who helped put this together. These town halls are opportunities for us to share information with the broader community about what we are thinking they need to do and the effects that it's having in our community and how we're going to continue to proceed to collectively together work our way through this pandemic that we are going to get through. The good news is most of us are well, and most of us are able to do our part to avoid the spread of this virus. Some of those measures we've already talked about. I'm not going to repeat them all. I think by now you know what they all are. You're going to be doing a community service and a service to your family and friends by following these very important public health recommendations. Staying within your own household as much as you can. That is going to be very important. So that's the good news. We all are able to do that, and we're all able to mask. And we're all able to stay physically separated when we're out in crowded, congested spaces. And the good news is Christmas is not canceled. Find a way of celebrating. Find a way of enjoying the spirit of the time, the spirit of giving. And the giving right now, the best thing that you can give, as Paul just mentioned, is help to those that need help most. And the food banks could certainly use some resources. If you have some additional resources, some dollars that you can share with them, you're giving a huge help and assistance to people in our community, far more than ever before, that are going to require the food banks going forward. I'm going to make a point of avoiding gifts this year and asking for donations to food banks on an ongoing basis, and I'll make a significant one myself. Whatever we can do, let's please do to help others. And lastly, let me just say to our Jewish community, a very happy Hanukkah to them. And while the gathering for the Festival of Lights will be virtual or kept to existing household members this year due to COVID-19, I hope you all feel the spirit of family and community all the same this year as you would every other year. So on that note, Michael, we look forward to the next update, which I'm sure is a week away, and hopefully we'll have done an improved job of flattening the curve, keeping our businesses open, and being able to find ways of celebrating Christmas and Hanukkah and all the holidays that are upon us. Thank you, Mike.
Well, Mr. Mayor, Dr. Richardson and Paul Johnson, thank you for being here once again tonight. And thanks as well to our special guest, Keenan Loomis, President and CEO of the Hamilton Chamber of Commerce. In closing, this is our final town hall broadcast for 2020, and it has and continues to be extremely challenging for everyone here in our community. Working together, though, we can make the holiday season safe, and we must all do our part to ensure our city rebounds from COVID-19 as we move into 2021. A reminder, we will be back with you on Thursday, January the 28th at 7 p.m. for our next town hall right here on Cable 14 and on 900 CHML. In the meantime, we remind you that broadcasts of City of Hamilton media briefings will continue right up until Christmas on Mondays at 4 p.m. live right here on Cable 14. I'm Mike Fortune. I'll see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. right here on Cable 14 for the Hamilton Network. Until then, Hamilton, happy holidays, stay safe, look after yourselves. Good night.